Hey guys, it's Anime and we're back here again with another MHA What If, and today we are going to be doing what if Deku had a copycat ability. In this what if, Deku will adopt the name Mugen no Yami, but people will abbreviate it to Yami-san or Mugen-san. This is going to be a fusion between Unordinary and MHA, so go follow the writers of both, and without further ado, let's get into the video.
Slick talker since a jit. Winter time, all the time, ooh, yeah. Look at the way that I move, swag, disrespectful and I'm rude, okay? I had cocaine in the school.
In this what if, we'll be starting off in Deku's middle school or Aldaria Junior High's cafeteria. Deku buys his lunch and sits down when he hears a yell from Bakugou. Hey you, damn nerd! Who said you're allowed to eat here? Deku turns back, apologizing, and tries to walk somewhere else, but Bakugou grabs his shirt. Who said you get to walk away? I'm having a bad day and I need a punching bag. Deku starts crying, and in that moment of hopelessness, rage, sadness and betrayal, his eyes glow black and his aura becomes entirely different. Just the force of his now singular emotion knocks out most of the lunch hall. That singular emotion is rage. Bakugou tries to explode Deku, slightly scared, when Deku uses an explosion to launch him over Bakugou's explosion. Then he makes a new move which he calls Explosive Punch that he uses to knock Bakugou out. Then Deku falls to the floor panting before he passes out entirely. The next day he goes to the hospital to find out his quirk after spending a night in a makeshift hospital which had housed the entire class overnight due to a janitor calling an ambulance. Deku wasn't told about what he had done, but he remembered using the explosive punch. The doctor sees his quirk level and scoffs, resetting the machine to see no change in results. He fake smiles and asks to take Inko out to talk, then explains what Deku's quirk is, leaving Inko dumbfounded. The doctor asks for consent to tell her son, and Inko, stammering, says, yeah. Here, young Midoriya. Your quirk is called Aura Void, which is a branch of your maternal uncle John's quirk, Aura Manipulation. See, quirks like yours are called Unordinaries, which we judge in a number from 1 to 10. Some of the highest max potentials were around 8.2. Your max potential, however, comes up as 9.3. This is most likely because of your amazing abilities. Currently, without unlocking any of your potential, you can manipulate your aura channel just like your Uncle John, meaning that you can manipulate your aura flow like other people's and stack 2 imitations at once. However, you can also increase the power of the aura flow by removing limiters, kind of like an ability called the 8 Gates, but with a lot less strain. However, your quirk has mutated, meaning that you can temporarily steal a person's quirk which should instantaneously knock them out, but their quirk will return to them after a couple of seconds. But that's a good thing, because that power should increase the time your opponent is knocked out, due to the massive fluctuations of power. Deku goes back home thinking about what had happened over the last 2 days, when he went to sleep having a nightmare which showed him what he had done. He woke up in a cold sweat, realising that what he had just seen wasn't just a nightmare. Now we skip a couple years to the end of middle school, when the teacher is talking about what high school everyone is going to and all the kids are getting hype and using their quirks. When she says Deku and Bakugou are both trying to get into UA, Bakugou instantly scoffs, saying, Deku going to UA? Ha! Comic up. Before he finishes his word, he remembers what had happened when Deku's quirk awoke for the first time, but it was too late and Deku was too angry. Deku instantaneously steals someone's speed quirk and appears in front of Bakugou, and then using an enhancement quirk, punches Bakugou in the gut, making him cough up some blood. I am no longer Quirkless Deku. I'm now Mugen no Yami with the quirk Aura Void, and I'll become a hero that will save anyone with a smile. The entire class except Bakugou and his lackeys cheer, Mugen no Yami! Meanwhile, Bakugou is just shattered. He ends up firing an explosion into the air and walking out. Deku also leaves, and whilst reading through his hero notebook, he realises that there is a massive ball of sludge in front of him, and his eyes go black as he says, Blackout! Knocking out the sludge villain. All Might then enters and asks what had happened to the sludge villain when Midoriya explained his abilities. All Might then smiles and asks Izuku what his thoughts on heroism are, when Izuku replies that he will become the next symbol of peace no matter what. All Might powers down and asks Izuku to inherit One for All, but is almost instantly shut down because Izuku feels like he doesn't need it and it will be a cheap trick to get stronger. He just thinks to himself, imagine an anime where the main character is portrayed as a hard worker and he just gets given like an amazing power. Deku says to himself, that will be good, but I'd pass on being that main character. So All Might accepts his declination, but says he must now keep an eye on him as his successor and as someone who knows the One for All secret. So after that and a little bit of fanboyness, they are both satisfied and go on with their daily lives. This means the sludge villain encounter doesn't happen because he already destroyed it. So luckily Bakugou gets to keep a bit of his pride, a tiny bit. Now we move to Mugen-san and All Might's training. Yes, this still happens because All Might still acknowledges Mugen-san as a possible future symbol of peace, but here we have an extra addition to the training. The man, the myth, and the chivalrous Red Riot. You guessed it, he's getting One for All as voted for by you guys on our community tab. Kirishima is ready for One for All immediately, but he needs to use Harden to use anything higher than 35%, and even using Harden he can only go up to 75%, and this causes massive strain on his body. He can also now harden someone else along with himself when using 50% or more of One for All. Deku also learns a couple of self-defense methods for when he's fighting multiple villains that can withstand Blackout. He also gained some more control over Blackout and it's no longer controlled by his emotions. Meanwhile, Bakugou was also training and going to a therapist. This was because Bakugou had developed a genuine inferiority complex and feelings of futility because of how Deku had risen past him and gotten so much more respect than he could ever wish for from his peers. He eventually went back to normal after acknowledging that some people were above him and becoming less violent and calling Deku Kurai Senpu, meaning Dark Whirlwind. But don't worry, you'll still get to see some classic Bakugou. His training though had been very successful and he had gotten close to mastering his ability and had learned the explosive punch and the AP shot. Now we move on to the UA entrance exam where the boys' hard work would actually pay off. Deku never falls and gets helped by Uraraka, and Bakugou actually does better in the written exam than Izuku, but neither of them really care and they look forward to the physical exam. Immediately after the doors fall down, Kirishima takes a different approach using his agility to fly around the battlefield, one-shotting 2-pointers whilst Mugen-san goes completely calm and uses Blackout, knocking out a lot of the competition and copying Ida and Bakugou's quirk to take out any robot in sight. When the 0-point robot appears, he actually traps a lot of the people that were knocked out by Blackout. Izuku sighs and copies One for All and hardens to kick the robot back so he can save all the people under the robot. The robot returns and Bakugou flies up and explodes the robot, and when the robot falls, Kirishima launches it back, saving everyone underneath it. The same people pass as in the original. Now for the best part of the arc, finding out the scores. Izuku Midoriya, 137 villain points, but only 3 rescue points. He had lost 50 of his rescue points for endangering a lot of the other students there using Blackout. Katsuki Bakugou, 92 villain points, 45 rescue points. Eijiro Kirishima, 75 villain points, 60 rescue points. Meaning Izuku got a total of 140, Bakugou got a total of 137, and Kirishima got a total of 135. These scores are outrageously high, but a lot of the weaker people were knocked out by Blackout. Izuku is happy that he passed and goes to bed content, but his nightmares haunt him. He sees a figure in a black mask who calls himself Joker. He floats over and when he arrives, he whispers something into Izuku's ears, ending with, "Never lose." Meanwhile, Kirishima comes to deal with the fact that he needed to improve if he wants to live up to the chivalrous path Crimson Riot and All Might have paved for him. Bakugou, however, goes out to train where he learns how to enhance himself entirely with his explosions, but he cannot seem to master it yet. Enough exposition, let's move on to the first day of UA. Izuku and Kirishima walk to school together and they show up to class late because Midoriya was too apathetic to get out of bed. They see Aizawa as they walk in, who immediately sighs, "Late to your first day, that won't work." But before he finished speaking, Izuku and Kirishima use their abilities to dash into their seats. Aizawa smiles, knowing that he has a pretty capable class. He walks in saying for everyone to shut up. Ida still argues with Bakugou, calling him a cretin, but Bakugou doesn't fire back and Ida acknowledges Bakugou. Yami-san still makes friends with Ochako. Aizawa comes in. "Shut up. Get these PE kits on and head outside. Aizawa explains how all people are not created equal and asks Izuku what his father's ball throw was in middle school, and Izuku answers 63 meters. Aizawa asks him to throw it using his quirk, and Izuku asks Uraraka to use her quirk, and she does let him. Izuku immediately gets the infinity score and the class is incredibly shocked. Aizawa commends him but mentions he won't always have a quirk to copy in villain fights. Bakugou grins, calling Yami-san amazing. In the race, Izuku beats Bakugou by copying his ability with Bakugou by copying his quirk, meaning that he gets 4.01 seconds. On the grip strength, he copies dupla arms, getting 540 kilograms. He also manages to clear the sand pit on the standing long jump, and he copies Minetta's quirk to get an insanely high score on the side-to-side jumps. He also comes tied first on the other exams, such as the long distance run. The placements are actually insanely different. Izuku gets first, Momo comes second, and Bakugou and Kirishima tie in third place. Todoroki gets fourth and Ida gets fifth. In this what if, Mineta comes last and is expelled, but through the power of sheer memes he takes a potato chip and eats it. This amazing display of skill forces Aizawa to let him stay in UA. So that will conclude the first part of what if Deku had a copycat ability. If you liked this part, please like and comment what you liked about it or something that I should improve on for the next part. If you really like this what if, then you can subscribe and put on post notifications to be told when the next parts of these what ifs will be made with great accuracy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.